If we had a bigger budget, there'd be fighting robots, but we don't, so it's the football show.
Welcome to the Football Show, the only show dedicated to recapping the previous week's football highlights. Here's Brent with our lead story.
Thanks, Heather. Sports fans around the country were upset when something called the World Series caused an obstruction with ESPN's coverage of all things football. Johnny Manziel made headlines this week when he said that he'd like to hang out with Charlie Sheen, Tiger Woods, and Rob Gronkowski. The 20-year-old Manziel has previously been seen hanging out with celebrities like LeBron James and Amanda Bynes' ex Drake. So I guess now we can look forward to Johnny Manziel piercing both his cheeks, getting a bunch of DUIs, and tweeting about how he wants Drake to murder his vagina.
Bobby Bowden returned to Doak Campbell Stadium this past weekend, where he became the first non-Native American to throw the seminal ceremonial flaming spear at the start of the game, because nothing excites the crowd more in Florida than an old white guy taking something from a minority. And why does the spear have to be flaming?
Why can't it just be a spear?
Right? The Penn State football program took the biggest beating in its 114-year history this weekend. They also lost their football game to Ohio State.
A week after boycotting games and practices due to unsanitary conditions, poor travel accommodations, and lack of basic necessities, the Grambling football team retook the field and played football. Sort of. The Virginia Tech Hokies dropped out of the AP poll after losing to Duke 13-10 on Saturday. So just to be clear, Duke has a football team.
The Jacksonville Jaguars remain winless after 8 games this season. If they're not careful, they might not become bowl eligible. The new BCS poll was released on Sunday, and while Alabama held on to the top spot, Oregon replaced Florida State as the number 2 team in the country. Most Alabama fans would prefer to play Oregon anyway, since duck feathers are considered a nicer place to put their balls on a cold January night.
Raiders defensive coordinator Jason Tarver apologized for flipping off officials after what he thought was a bad call on Sunday. The NFL said it will not discipline Tarver and instead leave it up to the Raiders to do so. But honestly, he already works for the team. What's the worst they can do? Give him an extension? Former Washington Redskin Dexter Manley made headlines when he referred to Troy Aikman as a queer on a live radio broadcast in Washington, D.C. over the weekend. To be fair, Manley's previously admitted to having been illiterate despite spending 4 years at Oklahoma State, so he might have just been saying that Aikman was quiet. Or quaint.
Or a quarterback.
Exactly. In short, Dexter Manley is a huge asshole.
Panther safety Mike Mitchell said he believes that NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell is targeting him personally due to the $45,000 worth of fines levied against him for taunting this season. When asked his thoughts on the situation, Panthers coach Ron Rivera said, "Who's Mike Mitchell?" Former Oilers and Titans owner Bud Adams was laid to rest this weekend after a 90-year battle with never being good enough. Adams' funeral was originally scheduled for Houston, but was moved to Nashville in order to get a better deal on a gravesite.
Before blowing a lead to the Detroit Lions and losing on the last play of the game on Sunday, Cowboys receiver Dez Bryant was seen verbally abusing quarterback Tony Romo on the sidelines. As Bryant began his offensive, he was interrupted by Cowboys tight end Jason Witten because the Cowboys offense can't finish anything it begins. Redskins safety Brandon Merriweather returned from a 1-game suspension for illegal targeting against the Bears this past weekend. Merriweather had previously been criticized by Brandon Marshall, the Bears receiver, for his unnecessarily violent approach to the game. Marshall believes that NFL players should only aggressively target their wives and girlfriends.
That's all we have time for this week. Join us next time for
The Football Show!
If we had a bigger budget, there'd be fighting robots, but we don't, so it's the football show.